The history of the world is a vast container of mysteries, many pages of which have become dirty with the dust of time. But if we brush away that dust, such truths come out that defeat human imagination. For thousands of years, humans have been searching for a treasure whose key could perhaps change the turn of the world economy or bring about a great disaster. Explorers have searched from the bottom of the ocean to the caves of difficult mountains, but could not solve that mystery. I am speaking about the lost treasure of the most powerful ruler in human history, the beloved prophet of great Allah, Hazrat Sulaiman, Solomon. Where did that unimaginable wealth go? Historical documents claim that even the pillars of his royal court were made of pure gold. Did those thousands of tons of gold, pearls and diamonds vanish into thin air, or are they still waiting deep beneath the soil of Jerusalem where human entry is forbidden? In today's discussion, we will try to uncover the knot of that lost history using sources from the Holy Quran, Sahih Hadith, and ancient manuscripts. Before entering deep into this mystery, we must understand the vastness of the kingdom of Hazrat Sulaiman A.S. This is not the story of an ordinary king, but the story of a king whose source of power was the miracle of the great Lord himself. Great Allah Ta'ala mentioned that famous prayer of Prophet Sulaiman, A.S., in verse 35 of Surah Sa'ad in the Holy Quran. He raised his hands and said, "O my Lord, forgive me, and grant me such a kingdom that will not belong to anyone after me. Surely you are the bestower." Great Allah accepted his prayer and gave him such a kingdom that no other king in the history of the world received. He was not only the king of humans, the wind, the jinn nation, animals and birds, and even the waves of the sea were under his command. It is surprising to think that what we cannot do in today's modern age with huge cranes or heavy machinery thousands of years ago under the order of Hazrat Sulaiman A.S., the jinns created even more amazing architecture. In verse 13 of Surah Saba in the Holy Quran, Allah said that the jinns used to make forts, statues, huge vessels like ponds, and huge cooking pots placed on stoves according to the will of Hazrat Sulaiman A.S. From this description, it can be understood how vast the splendor of that empire was. But the question is, where did the huge amount of wealth needed to run this huge operation come from? Here lies the real mystery of the treasure of Hazrat Sulaiman A.S. Looking at historical and religious books, it is seen that there were two sources of his wealth. First, the divine help given by great Allah, and second, the extraction of rare resources through the jinns. In various descriptions of the Bible, it is found that every year about 666 talents, or about 22,000 kilograms of pure gold, were deposited in the treasury of Prophet Sulaiman A.S. In terms of current time, its value is unimaginable. Even the shields of the guards of his palace were made of gold. From his drinking cup to the furniture of the court, everything had an abundance of gold because, in that era, silver had no value at all, and gold was as easily available as dust particles. This huge amount of gold did not come from any mine. Rather, Allah Ta'ala opened such doors of provision for him which are beyond the imagination of ordinary humans. However, Allah has mentioned a resource even more amazing than gold in the Holy Quran. Allah caused a fountain of molten copper to flow for Hazrat Sulaiman A.S. In today's age, huge factories are needed to melt copper to make wires or parts. Yet at that time, by the command of Allah, liquid copper used to come out from under the ground like water. In verse 12 of Surah Saba, Allah says, "And I caused a fountain of molten copper to flow for him." The jinns used to create such technology or architecture with that copper and gold, which is still a big question mark to scientists today. According to many, this fountain of molten copper was one of the biggest strengths of the economy of Prophet Sulaiman A.S., with which he built the strongest military and infrastructural foundation of the world at that time. Beyond this, there were resources at the bottom of the sea. Great Allah said in verse 37 of Surah Sa'd that he made the devils and jinns subservient to Hazrat Sulaiman, etc., who were divers and builders. These diver jinns used to reach such depths of the sea where it is still not possible for humans to go. From the dark bottom of the Pacific Ocean or the Red Sea, they used to bring up precious pearls, corals, and such gemstones that are not found on the upper level of the earth. This huge amount of wealth, gold, copper, and gemstones, was stored in Baitul Maqdis, the Holy Temple, in Jerusalem, in the royal treasury. But a cruel irony of history is that the wealth that once illuminated the streets of Jerusalem seemed to vanish like magic after the death of Hazrat Sulaiman, a.s. Where did those thousands of tons of gold go? Could any ordinary thief or robber steal that wealth? Were the jinn nation themselves on guard, or is there a deeper mystery behind this? Some researchers think that Hazrat Sulaiman, a.s., understood with his prophetic foresight that in the future the nation of Israel would go astray and great danger would descend upon Jerusalem. So, through some of his trusted jinns and special followers, he moved a huge portion of this wealth to such a secret place, the map or design of which is beyond the reach of ordinary people. Associated with this treasure is a miraculous history of the construction of Baitul Maqdis, or today, Al-Aqsa Mosque. It is said that at the time of building this mosque, numerous secret rooms or chambers were created underground. Hazrat Sulaiman, a.s., ordered the jinns to create such mazes deep in the soil where entering is easy, but exiting is impossible. Perhaps in one of those dark chambers, dust has been accumulating on that priceless treasure for thousands of years. Or perhaps on the other side of a stone wall lies that magic chest in search of which people have given their lives, age after age. However, to understand the real mystery, we have to look at the events following the death of Prophet Sulaiman, a.s., where magic books, the conspiracy of Satan, and the beginning of a cursed history are involved. The forbidden magic chest and the secret mission of the Knights Templar. The event of the death of Hazrat Sulaiman s. was one of the most amazing chapters in history, which makes the mystery of the treasure even more intense. Great Allah Ta'ala wanted to prove to the jinn nation that they do not know the news of the unseen. Prophet Sulaiman, a.s., passed away while standing leaning on his staff. Yet the jinns were working hard in fear, thinking he might be observing their work. Day after day, month after month, he stood leaning on that stick. Finally, when by the command of great Allah a small termite ate his stick and he fell to the ground, the jinns realized that he was no more. Immediately after this event, cracks began to appear in the splendor and strict rule of the empire. Iblis, Satan, and his associates took advantage of exactly this chaotic situation. They sowed a seed of terrible doubt in the minds of the people of Bani Israel. After the death of Prophet Sulaiman, a.s., the devils took the form of humans and started spreading the rumor that Hazrat Sulaiman, a.s., was not actually a prophet, but rather he was a great magician, Nauzubillah. The devils claimed that these books were hidden in a secret chest right under the throne of Prophet Sulaiman, a.s. Confused by this false propaganda, some greedy people of Bani Israel and apostate groups started digging under the throne. Unfortunately, they found some ancient manuscripts there. Basically, during the lifetime of Prophet Sulaiman, a.s., the black magic or disbelief that the devils used to teach people, he confiscated those and buried them under the ground so that no one could do this bad work anymore. But Satan presented the confiscated forbidden knowledge to the people as the treasure of Sulaiman, or the source of power. In verse 102 of Surah Baqarah of the Holy Quran, great Allah gave a strong reply to this lie. Allah clarified that Hazrat Sulaiman, a.s., did not commit disbelief. Rather, the devils committed disbelief and used to teach people magic. But by then, a large section of Bani Israel started practicing those forbidden books, thinking they were the real treasure. They left behind the Torah books sent by Allah and became intoxicated with the obsession of gaining power and wealth through magic. According to historians, these forbidden books and the original designs of the time of Hazrat Sulaiman, A.S., later went from one hand to another and got lost behind the scenes of history. People then started giving more importance to acquiring the power of this black magic than real gold or jewel treasures, which destroyed their faith. Meanwhile, Jerusalem had also become politically weak. After the death of Hazrat Sulaiman, A.S., his son Rehoboam sat on the throne. But he did not have the wisdom or prophetic power like his father. As a result, the kingdom split in two. Taking this opportunity, Pharaoh Shishak I of Egypt attacked Jerusalem. It is mentioned in the Old Testament of the Bible that Shishak's army entered Jerusalem and looted the treasury of Baitul Maqdis. They took golden shields, precious vessels, and the accumulated wealth of the royal treasury to Egypt. But a big question remains here, which still makes researchers think. Could Pharaoh Shishak really take all the wealth of Prophet Sulaiman, A.S., or were the real assets moved away beforehand? According to many descriptions of Jewish and Islamic tradition, the chief guards of Baitul Maqdis and the faithful followers of Prophet Sulaiman, A.S., knew that the fall of Jerusalem was imminent. So they hid the most valuable and holy objects, especially the Tabut-e Sakina, Ark of the Covenant, and the relics left by Prophet Musa, A.S., in a secret chamber in the tunnel path right under the temple. What Pharaoh Shishak took was only the glittering wealth of the outside. The real spiritual and worldly treasure was still safe in the deep darkness of the earth. And in search of this treasure, 1,000 years later, a mysterious force from the Middle Ages stepped onto the chest of Jerusalem, whom we know as the Knights Templar. Around 1118 AD, when the bloody war of the Crusades was going on, 9 French knights stepped into Jerusalem. Outwardly, their identity was very ordinary, and they named themselves the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ. Their declared purpose was to give security to the pilgrims coming to Jerusalem. But the strange thing is, the place that King Baldwin II of Jerusalem allocated for them to stay was not any ordinary fort. He gave them a place on the Holy Temple Mount or Baitul Maqdis courtyard, right on those ruins where once the royal palace of Hazrat Sulaiman, AES, or the Temple of Solomon stood. In history, this place is also known as Solomon's Stables. After establishing a base in this special place, a mysterious change was seen in the behavior of the Knights Templar. Historians noticed with surprise that these 9 knights were almost cut off from communication with the outside world for about 9 years. During this long time, they did not take part in any big battle, nor did they play much of a role in protecting pilgrims. Rather, they used to spend their time day and night digging tunnels or conducting excavation work underground. The question is, what were they looking for under Al-Aqsa or Baitul Maqdis? Modern archaeologists later examined the tunnels under the Temple Mount and found marks left by the Knights Templar, which proves they went there in search of something specific. Many researchers firmly believe that the Knights Templar came to Jerusalem not for any war, but to find the lost secret chamber of Prophet Sulaiman, A.S. Perhaps they already had some ancient map or information which showed them exactly where to dig. 9 years later, when these Templars returned to Europe, their condition had completely changed. Those who were destitute and poor knights when coming to Jerusalem after returning became the richest and most influential group in Europe. Their rise was unbelievable. They became owners of so much wealth that they started giving loans to the big kings of Europe at high interest and started the modern banking system. What was behind their sudden becoming rich? According to common belief, the Knights Templar found the secret storehouse hidden by Prophet Sulaiman, A.S., by digging under Al-Aqsa. Maybe they found that huge gold treasure, or they got their hands on those lost forbidden magic books which Prophet Sulaiman, A.S., had buried under the ground. It is heard that the Templars recovered some ancient manuscripts or scrolls from under the soil of Jerusalem, which contained secret knowledge of architecture, geometry, and Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism. Using this knowledge, they built huge cathedrals and forts across Europe, which were several hundred years ahead of the technology of that time. Again, many think they might have found Tabut Sakina, or Ark of the Covenant, by the miraculous power of which they became unstoppable. But this rise of theirs became the cause of their fall. This secret mystery and abundant wealth they had became a curse for them. In 1307, under the order of King Philip IV of France and the Pope, all Templars were arrested together and inhumane torture was carried out on them. The accusation against them was that they worshipped Satan and practiced forbidden magic, which perhaps they had learned from that tunnel in Jerusalem. A conspiracy started to wipe out the name of the Knights Templar from the pages of history, and many of them were burned to death. But before death, did they move their acquired treasure or secret knowledge somewhere else? Or did the main part of the treasure of Hazrat Sulaiman, Esikest, remain beyond their reach? Even though the Knights Templar fell, the mystery of the treasure did not end. Rather, in the 20th century, such a discovery was made on the banks of the Dead Sea, which proves that the Knights Templar might have received a small part, but the real storehouse is still dormant in some mountain cave or deep in the earth. In 1952, archaeologists found a map made of copper, which poured new fuel into this thousand-year-old mystery. The Copper Scroll and the hidden wealth. The sudden rise and tragic fall of the Knights Templar has left a big question mark on the pages of history. Did they really manage to recover that treasure, or did they only find the design or map of that wealth? Modern archaeologists found such an amazing object from cave number 3 near the Dead Sea in 1952, which is known in history as the Copper Scroll. While other scrolls of the Dead Sea were written on leather or papyrus, this special document was carved on a sheet of pure copper. Archaeologists think that copper sheets were used instead of leather, perhaps so that this list would not get destroyed in the course of time. When linguists and researchers deciphered this copper scroll, their eyes went up to their foreheads. In this scroll, a specific list of about 64 secret places in Jerusalem and its surroundings is given, where a huge amount of gold, silver, and holy vessels are hidden. According to the description of the scroll, the amount of this wealth is so huge that it could change the map of the current world economy. Researchers assume that this list is probably from that time when the Romans were coming to destroy Jerusalem, and the priests of the temple hid the accumulated wealth of the time of Prophet Sulaiman, A.S., in various secret places under the ground at the last moment. Is this copper scroll an indication of that lost mine of Prophet Sulaiman, A.S.? Or is it the guide to that storehouse which the jinns created by cutting stones? Even today, digging is constantly going on under the soil of Jerusalem. Although outwardly it is called archaeological research or the search for history, many believe its main purpose is to find the lost Temple of Solomon or the ruins of the Ring of Solomon. A hardline group of Jews believes that the day they find that they have lost Tabut Sakina, Ark of the Covenant, and the holy objects of the time of Prophet Sulaiman, A.S., on that very day, they will be able to build their third temple. They believe that this Ark of the Covenant is currently hidden in a secret chamber right under the Al-Aqsa courtyard, and this blind obsession is pushing the world towards a terrible war. They are trying to find those empty spaces under the ground using modern technology, radar and scanners, where thousands of years ago, jinns created chambers. But they have forgotten that Hazrat Sulaiman, A.S., prayed to great Allah for such a kingdom which would not be given to anyone else after him. So it is never possible for anyone else to acquire the source of his miraculous power or control over jinns. History bears witness that whoever reached very close to this treasure was destroyed in some way or returned failed. Great Allah has perhaps kept this wealth behind such a curtain which humans do not have the power to pierce. However, the obsession with finding this treasure and this tension centering on Jerusalem is taking us towards such a time, the prophecy of which our beloved Prophet Hazrat Muhammad ﷺ made 1,400 years ago. There is a deep connection of the signs of the end times or judgment day with this story of treasure, especially with another mountain of gold hidden under the Euphrates River, which is going to be revealed very soon. The Euphrates River and the mountain of gold. Looking at the geopolitics of the modern world and the Middle East, we see that the water crisis is gradually becoming acute and big rivers are drying up. It is narrated in Hadith Sharif that Judgment Day will not occur until the Euphrates River dries up and a huge mountain of gold floats up from its chest. In the narration of Sahih Muslim, Rasulullah ﷺ said, "Soon the Euphrates River will open up its hidden treasure of gold. Then people will engage in a terrible war to occupy it. And in that war, 99 out of every 100 people will be killed. Yet every person will think, perhaps I am that lucky one who will survive and become the owner of this wealth." Many think that there might be some deep connection between this mountain of gold of the Euphrates River and the lost wealth of Prophet Sulaiman, AS, because historically, the kingdom of Hazrat Sulaiman, AS, extended up to the Iraq and Sham, Levant region, and the basin of the Euphrates River was the center of ancient civilization. It could be that the jinns hid some wealth of Prophet Sulaiman, AS, at the bottom of this river in such a way that it will reveal itself as a fitna, trial, in the end times. Or this is another sign of Allah's miracle which He has kept hidden for a specific time. However, whatever the source may be, this wealth will bring great catastrophe instead of peace to the world. For the believers, the strict warning of Prophet Muhammad, SAW, is that no one should take anything from there after seeing that mountain of gold, because that will be a big test, just like the fitna of Dajjal. The wealth of Hazrat Sulaiman, AS, was a blessing from Allah, which he spent in the way of Allah and for the welfare of the religion. Despite his infinite power, he considered himself a humble servant of Allah. But the wealth or mountain of gold that will come out in the end times will incite human greed, arrogance, and violence, which will take the world to the brink of destruction. Even today, we are seeing how powerful countries are attacking weak countries for a little oil or mineral resources. Then think, the day a whole mountain of gold floats up in front of the eyes, to what level will human violence reach? In the obsession of finding this wealth, humans have brought destruction upon themselves, age after age, because this glitter of the world, this gold and jewelry, are all temporary mirages. The truly intelligent one is he who abandons this obsession with the world and saves his iman, faith. In Surah Al-Qasas of the Holy Quran, mentioning the consequence of Qarun's Korah treasure, Allah Ta'ala has warned us. Qarun used to boast about his huge wealth and thought these were earned by his own capability. But in the final result, Allah caused him and all his wealth to sink into the earth. We should take a lesson from the life of Hazrat Sulaiman, AS, that despite being the owner of all power and wealth of the world, he was a humble servant of Allah. He was the owner of wealth, but wealth could not make him its owner. His heart was filled only with the fear of Allah. Today's search shows us, by pointing a finger in our eyes, that no matter how big an empire is built in the history of the world, it will be lost one day in the course of time. Only Allah knows best where the treasure of Sulaiman AS is, and it is beneficial for us that Allah has kept that door of trial closed for us. Perhaps not finding this wealth is a mercy for us. Because if we got this wealth, we might have forgotten the remembrance of Allah and become intoxicated with the obsession of the world. So instead of running after hidden treasures, we should explore the treasure of our own deeds and faith, which will be useful to us in the dark life of the grave. O Allah, protect us from the fitna of Dajjal, the greed of the world, and the punishment of the hereafter, and grant us the ability to appear before you with pure faith. Ameen.